Born and raised in the motherland, chasing a better life. Story of an immigrant.
Concrete pastures.
Concrete pastures.
Hello, family. You are listening to Concrete Pastures. I'm Nancy Mulemo-Sisi. Being an immigrant has been one of the most challenging and extraordinary experiences of my life. It inspired me to create a platform to reach out to my fellow immigrants and dreamers. The goal is to provide a space for myself and others to share their stories as we deconstruct the world's view of being an immigrant. We unlock the laughs, the joys, the bravery that being a dreamer or an immigrant brings. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and welcome to all of our new listeners. Welcome to the family. Appreciate you. And guys, as you continue to listen, don't forget to subscribe. Click the button, give us a 5-star rating. It takes a lot to put this show together. It takes a lot to get our guests on the show. Let them know how you feel. What did you like about their story? Okay, we also have our YouTube channel, guys. Don't forget to check it out. You might just find your favorite guest there. We are every week now, we're actually uploading videos. So check them out as you continue to listen to Concrete Pastures. Put those faces to the names and the voices that you are hearing. I have some good news. You know, the goal for Concrete Pastures is to be able to give back to all communities. We want to give back to Africa, my country, to that little girl that's going to school, that little boy that's going to school with no books, no bags, going to school barefoot. We want to be able to help out. And we just launched our t-shirt line with vets. Anytime you buy a t-shirt, 50% of that is going to our vet who served in the army, and also 50% comes to Concrete Pastures to help out in other communities as well. So be sure to check out. I'll put the website for the t-shirts in the show notes. Click on it. Let's buy the t-shirts. The t-shirts are with our logo on it. We appreciate your support. As always, a huge thank you to FMG Radio for continuing to support Concrete Pastures and all of us independent podcasters around the country. Guys, let's continue to support them. And I'm so excited today. Our guest is amazing and she looks gorgeous. Just wait till you see her. Her name is Busie Matsiko-Andan. She is an award-winning global strategist, a serial entrepreneur. She previously has been recognized as the most influential people of African descent. Okay, so you understand why she's here today. She has transcended in different industries, including fashion. She co-founded one of the first fashion technology companies, Fashion ADDI, which was acquired by Nylon magazine. Busie continues to share and influence in her fashion styling on Poshmark, where she has several thousand subscribers following her. She continues to evolve as a leader in the diaspora affairs, a role she has assumed for 20 years. She has been recognized by the African Union for her efforts in uplifting various African entities in the diaspora, with focus on diversity and inclusion, while keeping up with changing needs and activities advocating for African continent. Now you understand why I had to bring her on. I heard her story on my brother's platform, White Label American, and I wanted for her to share a story with us as well. Let's welcome my sister, Busie. Welcome, Busie. How are you, my dear?
I'm fine, thank you, Nancy. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. It's such an honor to have you here. I am excited to get into your story and what you're doing for all of us as a community. Just for starters, I know you have to go somewhere. She looks amazing, guys. Fabulous, beautiful. Uh, so
It's a very good friend's bridal shower, and it's an all-white affair.
yeah,
I'm glad that I was able to make it because,
it's summer, and all white looks so great in summertime.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
But I'm so grateful that you were able to stop for a little bit just so we can have this conversation. For
The pleasure
starters,
is
just
mine.
give us a little bit of a test, because you are no stranger to a life of an immigrant. You are from our motherland, Africa. Just give us a test on what it was like to be back home and how you came to come to the US.
Yes, so I came here about 22 years ago. I came as a student, and but I'd come here a couple of times on vacation, had family here, and
Nice.
my sister and I was sent here by our father. And so as I said, it's very important that we understand that there are different dynamics, different experiences that Africans or immigrants experience when they migrate here. So for me, it was an easier landing coming here, adapting and that kind of thing, because there was already a precedent. And I must say that I was fortunate that I also had the support system, had friends who were already here. I had, it was not so bad, but along the way, it was also challenging as well.
Yeah.
Because when you deal with the exchange rates from back home and here, it's not easy feat. And for me, just before I graduated, unfortunately, our father passed away suddenly. He had just got to hear our results.
I'm sorry.
But at the same time, the graduation walk was about 4 months away. So it was one of those interesting, challenging, painful experiences. And we had to grow up fast. We had to adjust. So I've seen an experience from having stuff to also lacking. And then you have to work so hard. I threw myself behind work. I was just in a trend. And then I came out of college at the time when there was a hiring freeze, because this was just post 9/11. There were no jobs, and and this was so I started off at Smith Barney as an intern, and then after I went to work for Citibank. Fortunately for me, I've always been that person who meets people and starts builds relationships. That person for me was the receptionist at Smith Barney. And she's actually a lifelong friend. We've been friends since like 2002 or so.
Nice.
And she put in a good word to the administrator. And Smith Barney was the brokerage division of Citi.
Of course, yeah.
And then she talked to the administrator, who asked if I was open to any division of Citi. I said, yes, I was. And then she put in a good word, and I ended up interviewing with the head of HR for Citi, who gave me options of working with Citibank. That was the only place where there was an opening. So I was given 3 options at Citibank, and then I was hired at a level of a manager, interestingly, because I didn't have retail banking experience, but so talk about, you never know who could help you.
Yes, for sure.
And so that was my immigrant situation, whereby I would meet people, network, and not take anybody or anything for granted.
Yeah.
So that's how I really adapted as an immigrant, navigating some challenging situations in the US. And the people who I met were not necessarily African, were not necessarily Black. They were it was a diverse group of people, yes, white, Asian, African, Caribbean, and everybody.
Wow. I share that with you a little bit. I worked for Citibank, and when
Okay, you're Citi alum.
Yes, I'm a city alum. I loved it. The company is great.
Yes.
I loved. I have nothing to say but great things about City, to be honest. Even when I left, I was sad because that was I left because I was waiting for my renewal of my work permit. My
Yes.
boss,
Oh, the OPT.
yes, and my boss kept waiting for me. She was holding on to my position. She's like, anything. She
Yep.
for like
Yep.
3 months or so. She was great, really good. Yeah, so I was like bummed out a little bit when when I left City. But wow, do you mind just sharing like one challenge that you share that you might have gone through? Maybe somebody's going through. They can know how to get out of that.
Yeah, of course, it was navigating the US as making for me it was, of course, the frustrating thing was not being American or a green card holder. And yet I qualified. I mean, I think the strongest GPA in my graduating class, or so one of the strongest. And I had this idea of what job I wanted to have. And unfortunately, my immigration status would not permit that.
Yeah.
For me, that was frustrating, but it was also humbling because I ended up taking a backup position, which was willing to support me in my transition here.
Yeah.
And I just learned to just appreciate some of the opportunities I was given and not think so much about the missed opportunities. I wish I coulda, woulda.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah,
so
no, for sure.
Looking for positivity, even though I was sometimes experiencing adversity. And I think that's where my resilience was born. That's where my entrepreneurship was born. That's where I've met some of the most amazing people and got some of the most amazing opportunities. Fast forward, it's what made me Busie.
Yes, no, for sure. I wanted you to share that because there's so many challenges, different types of challenges that we face as immigrants.
And not to give up. The key word is never give up.
For sure, because there's a lot of people, I'm sure, that are still coming and they don't have an understanding of what it's like to be an immigrant. They see you on Instagram, they would say, and they see you having this life, but they don't know the backstory of it. They know you as the now. So when we share our stories, I'm like, understand where we came from first. And then, you don't feel so bad in your journey as well as you going through these challenges. That if Busie made it, you can also make it.
And I think it's also Nancy, one of the very key things is hard work. Hard work.
100%.
Because I sometimes felt I worked harder than many people around me. I basically, when I was in college, I didn't have a life.
Mm-hmm.
It was sometimes frustrating. I envied other people, but I was always looking for what type of internship, volunteer services. I volunteered a lot because I just wanted to find opportunities which I felt would help me with my growth. So people sometimes used to say, oh, Busie never hangs out. She doesn't have but I didn't have that luxury, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was an opportunity to build myself. I said, you know what? By the time I'm this age, I should have accomplished this. I just said aggressive goals I set aggressive goals for myself.
Yes.
And you have heard of you reap what you sow. So for me, I felt that hard work is what has transpired and evolved into making me who I am today.
Nice, very nice. You are hardworking, you are an entrepreneur, and you are representative of everything Africa for us. I wanted to dive into your entrepreneurship. How did you get into that? We're fast forwarding.
Oh, talking about the immigrant situation. So I had a very good friend who an undergrad, I mean, from elementary school, she had been the best. High school, the best. Law school, she, I think, had a first-class degree. And she went to Yale, graduated in a shorter period.
Wow.
And she had her dream job that she wanted. She wanted work at the UN. And she graduated top of her Yale class.
Nice.
However, she could not get her dream job because she did not know anyone at the UN. So for me, that's what's resulted in my first entrepreneurship exploit in the US. That was Global Wednesdays. I used to bring together people in the meatpacking district once a month on Wednesdays. And then it was like a speed networking kind of thing.
Nice.
And that's how I was growing the Rolodex. So I felt, you know what, if someone had an opportunity to those types of networking events in a nice neighborhood, and that was in the meatpacking district.
Meatpacking is...
So yes, they would be able to eventually meet someone who could help them to get closer to their goals.
Yes.
As a result of that, my business partner, who I went to college with, actually came to it and was like, I love this location. Why don't we have a fashion show here? And we started a fashion show. We got all these indie designers, and then we had an idea of having fashionably independent, classically independent. And it happened to be that fashionably independent is what stuck and was a fashion indie. An interesting thing about fashion indie was we experienced racial discrimination. An unfortunate incident happened, and it I was not very comfortable with it because I'm one person who I don't avoid playing the race card as well, as many people do. But unfortunately, it was we experienced it, and we ended up on the Tyra Banks show, and that's built the momentum. And we were backed by a lot of our clients who are mostly project runway designers, and more people came to us regardless of their race.
Nice.
And so from adversity came this company, which ended up becoming one of the top 3 blogs in New York and became one of the first fashion technology companies, and has since been acquired twice. But I must say, take a step back. In Uganda, when I was 18 years old, I founded a greetings cards business, and I would supply them in the gas stations. But that I forgot about because I was young. My accounts receivable were not good, but
I can't believe you saying that my accounts receivable were not good at 18 years old. Come on.
Yeah, so that was me with Fashion Indie, and I ended up becoming more bold about stuff, but Fashion Indie was also born during the time when my dad had passed on, so I became such a workaholic, and we came up with this idea of partnering Fashion Indie with nonprofits. So it was do good and get good, kind of. This was before that social good really came into play. Like Action Against Hunger were some of our clients. Kids in distress situations were also our clients. You know, we had a few decent and big nonprofits, and we bartered services, and we ended up growing that way.
What motivated you to get involved in the service? Because there should be something that drives people to give back.
I was born privileged, I must say, and but I've also seen poverty surround me, and especially when I was 12 years old, we were robbed at gunpoint, and for me that was eye-opening. It made me realize that there was a big divide between the haves and the have-nots in Uganda, and it made me start but I'd always been that person who becomes friends with people regardless of their background. But it now made me even pay more attention. So even when I went to high school, I used to pay attention to those who did not have. And I felt I would share with them. And it became just a part of me. And then I began to also now think about my South African heritage and thinking about apartheid and feeling like, oh, wait a minute, there are people who don't have,
Yeah.
So that for me was, I fell in different categories by association or by life. Heritage-wise, there was the South African piece as well.
Yes.
And then at the same time, I'd lived in different parts of, Zambia, and then Uganda. Now I'm beginning to think, wait a minute, there's poverty, and at the same time, we can do better.
Yeah.
And then when I came as I grew up, I began to feel like it's our moral obligation for us to not leave people without anything and to develop the world. So for me, that has been it's what drives me as well, because I'm like, success will always come.
Yeah.
But what value or impacts are you making in the world? And if you think about it holistically and try your best to do good as well as while you're making generational wealth. For me, I'm driven by it. I still believe in creating generational wealth.
Yes.
Because that will eventually help you impact masses of people who,
Exactly.
and that will help alleviate. I'm still hopeful that it will help alleviate a vicious cycle of poverty globally.
Yeah. The reason why I asked, because the reason I set up this podcast, Concrete Pastures, is because of my humble beginnings. My humble beginnings are what drives me, what motivates me. You know how hard it is to work hard in New York as an immigrant. It's very hard to move up the ladder of the corporate world. It's very hard. So coming from humble beginnings, I always remember that little girl that walked barefoot to school sometimes, or I carried my books in my hands. And I created this in order for me to be able to give back.
That's amazing.
To
That's
my country,
amazing.
to everybody.
Yes.
Where it's needed. And that's why I was asking, because there should be a driver. There's a lot of
yes.
That...
And more so, even now, it's funny you triggered the other side of me, because imagine you come here where your tuition is paid and everything. But at the same time, a family loss makes you also eventually hit rock bottom as you're discovering yourself here.
Yes.
And then you have to build up again. And so I've experienced it, and I'm like, what? There's some people who believe that, what? I struggled in this country, so no one should get it easy. They should go through what I went through too.
Yes, there's some people
I think differently. Yeah. I'm like, we should try to make the level the playing ground.
Yeah.
And make it easier for others who will pay it forward. And so that's my philosophy. It's not about, because I went through this, you should experience the same. No,
No, I agree with you completely. It's part of the reason also Concrete Pastures exists. People should have an understanding of what it's like to be an immigrant anywhere in the world. They know the expectations. Because if I knew, I don't know, there's some people who leave great jobs thinking there's better in America. Yes, there is better in America. But if you're living a good life, why would you live that good life and come and start over from scratch? If you're a diplomat, then it's a different story, an ambassador. But if you're coming like the way a lot of us are coming to America or to the UK, wherever they are deciding to go, it's better to have some type of story, that real life stories that people are telling you, this is how it's like here in America. At least you're somewhat prepared to go anywhere in the world. So you don't have to start from scratch or suffer.
Some people, it's just that thrill to grow. You believe that, you know what, I've outgrown a smaller place. I want to see what the American dream is.
I agree with that.
They might, but I understand where you're coming from. And they might feel like, okay, let me go and see what's more, because this place is, I've done it.
Yeah.
And probably, okay. But at the same time, it's good to know that, you know what, it's not that easy. And if you're willing to go through that, go through it.
Yes, by all means.
Yes.
By all means, but at least you have now resources. They can reach out to you. They can reach out to me. How do I navigate the job situation? How do I navigate housing? How do I a lot of things.
Also getting a mentor. Mentors are very important. I mean, and that's what you're saying. Talking to people we can navigate. Those are, it makes the difference. It does make a difference.
It does make a difference, because in order for us to be successful, we didn't get here by ourselves. That was always somebody guiding us. Like every bank I've worked at, someone has guided me to get somewhere. And that's exactly what we're providing as this platform. Like, reach out to us if you're looking to move somewhere. And if we don't know, we'll find out for you. We know people.
Yes. That's great. It's a great platform. And I commend you in what you're doing, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You're already supporting. I know you're big in our diaspora and representing for our diaspora. Could you just explain a little bit of what you exactly do?
I think I just found myself in this role because I just was involved in different organizations. I mean, either existing organizations, new organizations. The biggest thing was for me, how I ended up, I think Global Wednesdays was what morphed into my diaspora stuff. And then I was also involved in the Ugandan American Association of Greater New York. I was their first youth director. So, the Ugandan American Association, I think it's one of the oldest diaspora organizations, 34 years old. Nice. So there was an institution there. So I learned some ropes there. But then I felt I'm very Pan-African because of my background. I went to international schools in Zambia, the people I went to school with from different parts of the world. And then also the South African backgrounds. Then my friends in college were from different countries. So I felt I'm more than just from one country. That's where my enthusiasm into the diaspora really took shape. And this was around the early 2000s. And then one of the organizations that was founded, Angel Africa, that was a part of, I was very involved in like membership, growing it, scaling it from like 5 members, we grew to about 500 members, and then we got involved in a lot of organizational stuff. And then I found myself being involved in different diaspora networks. And eventually, also, I did a lot of stuff with the UN, volunteering at the UN. That also opened me up to the world.
Yes.
And then also organizations such as Susan G. Komen, also Fashion Indie, dealing with designers African designers. I dealt with Arise. I dealt with different people from different walks of life from the continent, and and then there was a group that was Afropolitan that came up. So we began to all find ourselves, and then you was beginning to see success as a result of that.
Nice.
And I think that's what prompted that diaspora movement, and then we're seeing how the Jewish people organize themselves, Asians, and Indians. And so that was really inspirational. So that for me was very powerful. And then I said, you know what, I'm not losing my authenticity. People would say, oh, with that complicated name, no one will give you a job. I'm like, then I don't think I want to be hired by that person if they don't want to give me a job. So I slowly just kept on doing little things, going to African parties or different parties, and then seeing how can we grow together. And diaspora doesn't just mean just Africa, it's Friends of Africa, African diaspora, then also Friends of Africa, or even other groups. So I have different pockets of friends, my Italian friends, my whatever friends, but I found that, and I would introduce them to my Africanness.
Yes.
And I was proud of that. And so people have come to say, oh, Busie is very close to me. But they also now have come to recognize my likes. So whenever you see me, either I'm wearing African earrings, or I have an African hairdo, or I have an African inspired outfit.
Yes.
And it's acceptable. Oh, Busie, that looks cool. So regardless of, so some of my white friends said, oh my God, that's a nice outfit. And that was a whole part of it,
Yeah.
And so then I found the African Union began to get interested in me. And the ambassador for the African Union said she wanted to come and meet me. And then I said, oh, if you're meeting me, I think you should also do a meet and greet with the Africa diaspora here.
Nice.
So those are the things that I've kept on. And so, so that's me in a nutshell with regards to Africa. And then the
African diaspora. No, you're doing an amazing job. I wanted you to just highlight of a lot of the things that you've done to get there. Because sometimes we start something without even looking for.
I'll say doing some voluntary stuff. Sometimes, let me tell you something. And I think a problem that sometimes as African diaspora people have is wanting the need for instant gratification.
Yes.
The first thing someone asks me when I say I'm doing something, are they paying you? If I'm telling you about why does it have to be that type of conversation? Why,
I think it's the way we were raised. It's the culture thing, which we have to eradicate out of our vocabulary and out of our lives.
Because sometimes you might never get into, if you're expecting payment rights there and there, you'll never get into certain networks.
For sure. Definitely.
Because it's always about give me, that kind of thing. What about serve? When you serve, don't expect much from people.
Yep.
But people are watching.
Yes.
I have an opportunity that came to me last year, and I was told they had been watching me since 2008.
Wow. That's powerful.
So
that's powerful.
That's sometimes we don't have to, it's understandable you need, but not every opportunity is as a result of money.
Yeah, no, for sure. One of my mentors, when I was starting this, because I was fighting to start it, but it's been on my heart. It's something that I couldn't ignore. It just had to happen, whether I wanted it or not. I was giving all kinds of excuses. I have this, I have that. My list was the biggest excuse ever.
Well, you don't even if you didn't tell me, you're
it's
amazing. And even let me tell you
a lot of practice.
Lists are not a breaker,
Oh, you have no idea how much excuses I was giving. Oh, I can't even pronounce
talk about it. It's like even stuttering, it's all about, I think also that's the thing, with diaspora, we have a lot of stigma
Yes.
about
Yep.
certain things. It's like early intervention. Some of these things, some of those situations could have been sorted out as a result of with early intervention. But
Yeah.
you know what someone will say? Oh, I'll be typecast. My child will be typecast. But guess what? If you need the services, you need them.
Yeah.
Or sometimes that service will help you, improve you, and then you might not need them after all.
Yeah.
And then because we're avoiding it, a problem is compounded.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
might never get that opportunity again.
Yeah. No, after I got over my own excuse, actually, there's so many people that came. My mentor was saying, you know, an audience of one is an audience. She keeps saying that all the time, an audience of one, because I had no expectations. I was like, listen, I'll just do my story. And within my story, somebody might
You
relate
touched
to it.
lives.
And a lot of what I share is my story on the podcast. And they're like, oh my God, your story, I didn't know that's what you went through. Even my own family didn't know what my story is as an immigrant in the US because I didn't share. And now it was just like, it was time for me to
And
share.
look at you impacting lives.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You started it off for us. I'm just helping, and somebody else, I'm sure.
No, and we have
eventually
we stand on the shoulders of great people who have come before us. And
Yeah.
I won't negate that.
Yes, no, for sure. For sure. What advice would you give somebody at this stage in your life that's looking to come to the US and they want to start over their lives? We already kind of spoke a little bit on it. They're living a good job or not even living a good job. They just want to start their life. What advice would you give them?
They should do their research, thorough research, and ask, and make sure they know where they're going to land, the place they're going to land, who they're going to stay with, who's going, because, and also managing the expectations, because sometimes we'll think, oh, I'll go and live with so and so, they will accommodate me. People are going through their own issues,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
And so managing those expectations. Yeah, and if you have a great life back home, so necessarily you have to weigh the options of whether it makes sense for you to move or not.
Yeah.
Unless, yeah. But again, it's a personal decision.
Yeah. No, it definitely makes sense. Weighing your options, the pros and the cons, and yeah, as doing research is number one. Doing research wherever you're going in the world. That's really good. What do you live by? What inspires you every day? I know you have your little babies, and what inspires you? Maybe they inspire you, or you have a quote that
Yeah, they inspire me, but I'm still hopeful. I'm a person who lives by hope and faith, and so I trying to get into a positive mindset. Am I always in a positive mindset? Not necessarily, but I strive to be, and that's why I'm in it more often than not.
Yeah.
And so for me, just good in society as well as development. I want to see development, and it's across the board on the continent, especially. But I'm still hopeful that with good leadership, eventual good leadership, and diaspora, as well as the people on the continent coming together, great stuff will be done. And it's already happening. And we just have to continue pushing by, and in summary, just be authentic and just do the little pieces you can do, your own little contribution.
I agree with you. What I've come to learn after going through a hard time, going through a separation, I had to be intentional with every decision that I make. loving someone intentionally in actions, not just saying it. So that's what I live by these days. It's like, if I say I love you, I have to be intentional about it, because everything became secondhand with how I lived my life, with being so career oriented, and then going through life, having kids, everything becomes routine. So I like what you said. And just to add to that, just being intentional with life.
Thank you. Yeah, and deliberate. Yep.
Yes.
Intentional and deliberate.
Yeah.
You're right.
Have you found your concrete pastures? You've been here a long time. And would you
I
say
still,
you
I
found your
I
concrete
think
pastures?
yes and no. someone would say it's either yes or no, but I'll say yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, because I think America has been good to me. And
Nice.
we're having this conversation because of America.
Nice. Yeah.
And there's certain, it's given me a platform that shows others that you can be great regardless of your background.
Oh, yes.
So yes, but the no is, I'm still discovering my self-actualization.
I think we are all still working on each.
Yes, we're still a work in progress.
Yeah.
I can be a better version of myself.
Every day, that intention.
Yes.
It's
in this place, you see someone graduating at 80 years old, right?
Yes,
you know, you know. So
yes, these days anything is possible. Anything is possible. People
but I would love to see myself do more between Africa and the diaspora. You know, especially with Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, the AFCFTA. I'd love to see more development, and I'm seeing at least people are not just imposing their beliefs on people in the continent, telling them how to run things, but how can we collectively run this?
Yeah.
How can we contribute to the growth of our continent, the development, as opposed to I lived in America, and I think this is how things should be. That's not how you you have to build trust, learn from them, and then they'll learn from you, and you do things collectively.
How can people be part of what you're doing? How can people join with the organizations that you actually help run and run yourself?
I'm on Instagram. You can connect with me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram.
And I'll put everything in the show notes.
Yes, also LinkedIn. They can follow me on LinkedIn. And yes, connect with me there. And then some people want to do short courses or also go to college. There's also Berkeley College. Can connect, I'm also an alum, as well as I'm a board trustee, the first Black woman board trustee in the college's 91 years.
Nice.
And also, participating in the Africa Future Summits, following it. And and then, my Pont Global, which is my management solutions and project management company. People, just communicating on that.
Nice, nice. Do you have anything to add that you want to leave with the audience with that I haven't asked you?
Never give up. Be intentional, deliberate, as we've said. Be your authentic self. Don't worry about the so-called limiting beliefs. Don't let your limiting beliefs get the best of you. And just keep pushing, like in Finding Nemo. Keep swimming.
Keep swimming. Oh, I saw you. I think you put that on your Instagram the other day.
Yes.
Oh, I saw that. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. Oh, that's awesome.
It will just get better. Just find, and speak out if you're going through some challenges. don't keep it to yourself. And I saw this yesterday. There's a new hotline for suicide, 988. It was a long number. So if someone is going through depression, they shouldn't hesitate to call that number, the 988 number.
Yes, no, I agree with that. A lot of people are going through a lot of hardships silently.
Yeah.
And so 988, I'm going to put that in the show notes as well. Depression. So they can just type up 988.
Calling like 911?
Yeah, so 988. Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
I just thought I should share that because in different societies, it's a stigma to deal with that, you know?
It is, especially for us immigrants. We deal with things silently because of what we are taught. We don't share. We're scared to talk to therapists. We don't share for a lot of things.
Even like life insurance, the issue of life insurance, people don't really deal with it, you know, and then the community is forced to raise money for, you know, and one can get it.
I just did an episode on that. There's life insurance, and Dr. Msanje actually had some tips, and we have an organization that actually signs you up, including people that are back home. If you want to put them on your life insurance, they also do that, which is great. Because sometimes we worry about families that are back home, and you can add them to your life insurance, which is great. I actually like that. So you've poured into the community. I love everything you've said. I'm so grateful that I was able to catch you today, so to have this discussion with you. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I love your energy. I love your passion. And I mean, you just mentioned going through some challenges, personal challenges. You're doing great, and just keep going. And if there's anything we can support you, we are here to support you.
Thank you.
Because you see, you're sharing with others, regardless of what we're going through. Everybody goes through challenges. That's one thing we should know.
Yes. No.
And sometimes some people are better at masking it, but it's okay to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is actually a superpower.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true.
Yes.
It's
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.